And now, storyteller extraordinaire, Griot OJ.
I'm a average African American male, retired African textiles with bright colors. Is that what we do? Yeah. It seems to be what we do for the persons with limited vision.
Would you please try this? I'm sorry.
How about this? Can you see? All right. Long time passed. If you had seen little M before his 5th grade, before his 5th birthday, you would have said, he's a prince of a boy. His pop-pop called him little M because his pop-pop said, boy, you just knee-high to a grasshopper. Little M was majestic. He was marvelous. He was magnificent. He was full of energy. Little M liked math. He liked counting. He was always counting things, how many things there were, how many places to go, how many toys there were, how many children there were, playing on the great playground set in the big backyard of the big house. How many children were there to play with? How many things? Little M knew that Pop-Pop was very important. He knew that he was important because Pop-Pop was important, and Pop-Pop's son they called Jaybird. He was important also. But really, little M did not know what happened outside the high walls of the big house with the big yard. He only knew that Pop-Pop and his daddy, Jaybird, often went on long trips for the business. And he would count the days for when they would be back. And because usually when they would come back, he knew there would be another one of those banquets or ceremonies or parades to welcome them come back after they've been taking care of business out there in the world, whatever was happening out in the world. But right after his 5th birthday, oh, what a birthday it was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They went away again. And like they usually do, Jaybird's friend Davy was with him. It seemed like they always went together. They were such besties. But this time, as little M was counting the days, waiting for them to come back, something strange happened. All of a sudden, 2 of the bodyguards came riding in on the horses. And they got Nurse Eunice. See, Nurse Eunice was the one who really took care of little M more than anybody else. I mean, Mom and Grandma were always being the grand and elegant hostesses for all the parties and the banquets and things like that. And all the food on the long banquet tables. But it was really Nurse Eunice who really took care of him and watched over. She watched over him like a mama bear over her cubs. And these bodyguards who came riding in on the horses were whispering urgently. Something was going on. He did not know what it was, but he's looking to see if Pop-Pop and Jaybird and Davy are going to come back. Suddenly, Nurse Eunice grabbed little M and said, "Let's go. We must hurry. We must hurry." They start running They start running, and little M falls down and twists his ankle. And so she just picks him up and she starts carrying him. She's carrying him. They're running. And then she stumbles and she falls right on him and crushes his feet. And she's so heartbroken and he's in so much pain, but all she can do is just pick him up and carry him again until they see Zeba. Zeba says, quick, get in the wagon. So Nurse Eunice and little M get in the wagon, they ride off. They leave the big house, the big yard, of all the things, and they go, little M said, what's happening? He's going miles away, hours away. He did not know where he was going, but he just tried to calculate where he was and how far away he was. He didn't understand. Here's what little M didn't know. Pop was the boss of the organization. And everybody thought that one day Jaybird would take over, but the Lord God had said that Jaybird's friend Davy would take over. And Pop knew this. And although Davy had been a good, loyal employee and worked with the organization, there was a tension that was between them that continued to grow. And it really would try the relationship between Pop and his son Jaybird, because Jaybird would side with his good friend Davy. But they were friends. And several times Jaybird interceded and kept Davy safe. And they swore they and their ancestors, their legacies, would always be faithful and watch out for each other. This is what little M didn't know. He didn't understand that he was in exile because he was the boss's grandson. But now Davy was the boss. And he eliminated the competition. He started a lot of whole new product lines. Things were progressing well, but Davy was missing his dear friend Jaybird. And he said, is there anybody left from that family? They were so dear to me. So he asked the organization, and someone said, there's a man named Zeba who used to work for Pop. He used to work for the boss. He's still around, and he may know if any of the family members are still around. So Davy called, bring Zeba here. And Zeba came into the corporate headquarters. And Davy said, is there anybody from Jaybird's or Pop's family line still around? And he said, yes. Jaybird had a son. He's disabled. He has 2 broken feet. He's in a wheelchair. He uses crutches. And they're in hiding. And Davy said, bring little M here. All the land, all the real estate that used to belong to the boss will be his. Set him up in his old big house with a big yard. But also, let him know that he has a place at my table. And every time I sit at my table to eat a meal in the big banquet hall with the long benches, like he was used to, tell him he has a place at the table with me because his father was my friend. And I made a vow with my friend to the Lord that we will look out for the generations of each other. And so little M spent the rest of his days at the table with Davy. Now, some of you, if any of you out there are Bible scholars, would probably recognize this story. This is the story of King Saul and his son Jonathan, and David, who became king after Saul, and Mephibosheth, who is described as the lame one, who was the son of Jonathan. But it shows how David showed God's goodness by making a place at the table. I like what Tom had to say about stories. See, the one thing about a story is that there's the narrative, there's the facts of the story, but there's often the eternal value, the eternal truth beneath the story. The story of making room at the table is one that you hear time and time again. Remember when Jesus told the story of the man who was having a big banquet? He invited people to come to the banquet. And then when it was time for the banquet to start, people gave excuses. I just bought a field. I'm sorry, excuse me. I can't come. Someone else said, I just bought 2 oxen. I'm going to the field to try them out. I can't come. Another person said, I just got married. I'm about to go on my honeymoon. I can't come. So that king told his servants, go out to the street corner, to the boulevard, to the alleys, to the back alleys, to the dirt paths. You tell people, come, the king has invited you to come to his table. And they did. And many who had been left out before were now had a place at the table. And again, Jesus told another story. You may know this one too. About a man who had 2 sons. Young son said, I'm going off. If Dad, you give me my money now, before you die, I'll disrespect you. I just want the money. And he went off to the foreign land and wasted the money in wild living until he was broke. And all those friends he had made departed. And he was hungry for a job feeding pigs. But suddenly he came to himself and said, in my father's house the servants have plenty of food to eat. And here I am starving. I will arise. I will go to my father and I will say, Father, I have sinned against you and against heaven. I'm not worthy to be your son. Take me back. And he heads back home. But as he was heading home, the father was looking. And he saw his son coming back. And he ran out to meet him. And his father rejoiced and said, get a robe for him and sandals for him and a ring for him and set a place at the table. For my son was dead and now he's alive. And so they killed the fattened calf and they had a big banquet. They had a big party. But the older son was out in the field. And he came and said, what's going on? And the servant told him what was going on. And you know what? The older brother said, I am not going in. And you know what the father did? The father came out and basically said, you need to sit at the table with your brother. And the sad part about that story, that's how it ends. The father proclaiming, there's room at the table for you both. I ask you, is there room at your table? Is there room at your table? I ask you, have you ever been the one left out? I ask you. Maybe to some, it's just a story. Little M, wedding guests, a father and 2 sons. But there's eternal truth. Who can make room at the table?